this is the card I'll be showing you how to make. It's got some really pretty delicate floral details, and it's kind of holding the card flap here. So this is a really fun part of this card. But it's using the Two-Tone Floral stamp set along with the Two-Tone Floral dies. And also it's using the Fancy Floral 6x6 DSP. It's got some really cool patterns that are really useful when it comes to the floral die, which is in the two-tone Fancy Floral die. There's some really cool dies in there, so I can't wait to show you that. But let's get started. I will show you the base. So you will take a 9 by 4 1/4 piece of Sahara sand, and you can take your Simply Score here, and we are going to score at 5.5, like so. And then we can go ahead and fold that. And you can grab your bone folder and get a nice crease on that, like so. And then we're going to take our timeless, time-worn type embossing folder here and just emboss this front 3.5 inch piece here that will show. So grab your die cutting platform, the number 1, and then place your 3D embossing folder with the cardstock in, and then grab your gray number 4 plate. And run this through the die cutting machine. And when you get done with that, you should end up with this. I know it's a little bit challenging to see on the screen here, but it's a very pretty dimension to this card. So this is what we'll have so far. I'll go ahead and set this aside. Next, I will pull out one of my favorite parts of this card is this really cool, delicate, detailed die with some florals in it. And it comes in the Two-Tone Floral die set. So we're going to turn it on its side, and you'll notice that one side has more solid flowers, and then it works to more lined flowers. So what I did is I took a 3 by 6 piece of DSP from the Fancy Floral DSP pack, and basically that's just cutting one of those sheets in half. And then I placed it somewhat in the center, more off to the lined side of things and less on the more solid flowers. But if you notice, there is this little grouping of like mini flowers here, and then there's like this vine here, and that's stuff we want to keep. So just make sure you line up your DSP to kind of go just further than that vine and those flowers. I find that that's a pretty nice cutoff point and a guide to go by. So next, grab your die cutting platform. So you have number 1, number 2, and number 3 here. Oops, there we go. And then go ahead and place your die. Also, just to keep it in place, you can use some Post-it tape and just kind of make sure it's even and put a little piece there to keep it stable. And then go ahead and grab a second plexiglass plate to put on top, and you can go ahead and die cut that. And when you get done, you should end up with something like this. And that's totally fine, and that's what we want. My favorite way to get out the little extra pieces that did not fall out is the Take Your Pick, and then I added the Take Your Pick brush on it. But you can get your foam mat to put underneath it and run the brush over, or I like to just kind of hold it in my hand and go to town, and it really helps like knock out the rest of all those little pieces there. Next, you'll take your paper snips, and I kind of locate these 3 little flowers and the vine, and I will just kind of cut the petals to keep what I want and then leave what I don't. And because all of these petals and branches and everything are a little bit, they're not specific, you can't mess it up, is what I like to say. But just kind of cut around what you want to keep and what you don't. But anyways, you can continue. It's fairly easy to just snip snip and kind of create your way through those, that line there. But once you finish, you should end up with something like this. I went ahead and did it in this more green and brown toned DSP to kind of match the card that I'm working with, the Sahara Sand base. So set this aside. We'll put that with our card base. Next, I want to work on some of the little floral details I have around my greeting. So grab a sheet of white cardstock here. And I have the smallest little two-step flower stamp here. So I used Pool Party ink. And then also I used Soft Succulent ink. So we'll take the larger base one and we'll ink that up in Pool Party. And then I'll take the lined detail stamp out of Soft Succulent and kind of stamp that right on top there. You can see that gives it a nice pop and two-tone look. And then also, I forgot to pull it out here, but we'll be doing that with our flowers here that are bunched together. So same concept, you'll take the solid flowers, ink those up, oops, stamp those, and then you'll take your little accent, pop those on, and those will be out of Soft Succulent, and it just adds a nice little element and pop to your flowers. So close up your ink pads, and then we'll die cut those. Also, while you're die cutting, I took some of the DSP here, and you can see I've been cutting out some branches because I've had a lot of fun. But I'm going to use this leaf die cut, and so on some of the darker branches in DSP, I'll just die cut, and then if it was lighter, like so, if I die cut it out of this lighter spot, I would take Soft Succulent ink and go ahead and I'll actually do that to show you. But we can go ahead and ink up and stamp and then die cut, and that way that would give a little bit more definition to the leaves. But if you end up die cutting on the darker spots of the DSP, the stamp does not really show up. So either way, whichever way you end up using, you can choose between the two of those. But go ahead and pull out your platform again, and we'll have the number 1, number 2, and number 3, and then set our flowers up here all nice and pretty and get them lined up like so. And then we can actually just cut us a little piece out of here like so, and we'll run that through like so. Run that through the die cutting machine, and then when you get done, we'll have these and our branches, and because this is darker, I have not stamped the branch on it, so that's just the difference, and I kind of made do to make it a little bit more defined. So that's that, and we'll set that aside. Next, I took some of the Evening Evergreen cardstock here, and the thank you, and I forgot where I pulled this out from. I know it's in the new mini catalog that just came out because it was one of my favorites and I just grabbed it real quick. But absolutely beautiful thank you there. And some Versamark. And I'm just going to ink that up and stamp it. And then grab some gold embossing powder here. And cover that and shake off the excess like so, and then you can use your heat tool and go ahead and heat it. There we go, and when it's done, it's gorgeous and it just shines and pops on the dark green there. And then I took this hexagon shape out of the Something Fancy dies. So these are really good label dies that are really helpful. But then we will just line this up and take our platform again and run this through the die cutting machine. So again, we have our number 1, number 2, and number 3 here lined up. And then I just line that up, put our second plexiglass plate on top, and carefully run that through the die cutting machine. And then you'll end up with this. Next, we're kind of ready to start assembling. So go ahead and pull out your card base again, along with our really pretty floral and DSP here. I also have some Pool Party grosgrain ribbon, 3/8 here. So I'll go ahead and tie this onto the 3.5-inch piece front flap here. Okay, so there we have our ribbon. And then we can just kind of take some dimensionals. I'm going to take my thank you and kind of put a couple on there. And then I want to kind of make my leaves come out of the back of the thank you. So I'm just going to kind of place that behind here and let the dimensionals kind of hold that. And then take some Tombow and actually put a little glue on a couple glue dots, splotches on the back of the leaves there. So when I set it down, it should glue and stick perfectly. And then take another dimensional and just kind of add my flowers around to make them look all pretty, and you can play around with the placement of them like so. Next, I'll take the DSP here. And so for this, since we're using it to kind of hold this flap, this front flap, we're only going to want to glue about 1.25 inches into the DSP. So I kind of just like to hold my finger maybe to the point of where I'm going to stop gluing and then just kind of glue down. So I'm just going to kind of just daub some glue on the petals around and about, especially on the edges, like so. And once I have that, then I'm going to open the front flap and kind of glue it flush with the cardstock here, and just put a little pressure on it, make sure it sticks like so. And then you should be able to pick your card up and just kind of tuck this in here, and it will hold and have a really fun, beautiful look to it. I also kind of changed it up since I had a lot of fun DSP. And this one's done with the base in Petal Pink. And then for the flower stamps, I just used Calypso Coral. And on the solid ones, I stamped off. And then on the little accent parts, then I just used Calypso Coral and did not stamp off, just to kind of give it some definition there. But anyways, there you go. Some super cute, real simple cards that look wow. But anyways, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.